Hey guys, welcome back to another The Unofficial A&R video. This time round, I wanted to discuss my thoughts on this new Drake album and everything surrounding it. Drake released a new album a few weeks ago called Honestly Nevermind. It was completely by surprise, nobody was expecting it, not even his record label was expecting it. Most of us just logged onto social media a couple weeks ago to news that he dropped at midnight. I want to get into my thoughts as to why I think he dropped it by surprise, but I'll address this a little bit later. Firstly, I would like to address the album and my thoughts on it. In addition to the fact that the album was a surprise drop, fans of Drake were very surprised to see that the album was also a surprise genre. Dance music. House music specifically, which no one would have predicted in a million years for Drake to release, especially after Certified Lover Boy, which he only released a couple of months ago. And judging by the initial reception upon this album's release, it felt as though Drake's fans were willing to pay him to unrelease this project, or at least completely ignore this album in the context of his discography. The reception for this drop was almost surreal. I'm so used to seeing the reception for anything that Drake releases to be positive, even for the most average of singles or albums from Drake. So the fact that the criticism almost felt universally negative and overpowering was very abnormal to me. Usually within nanoseconds of Drake releasing new music, we've got girls using his lyrics in Instagram captions, men tweeting them, people making huge statements about how Drake released the album of the century and is the greatest artist to ever live. But this time round, there was none of that. Absolutely nothing. I don't even want to know how many times the word trash was used in relation to this album the day that it dropped. People absolutely hated it. It felt like people didn't even want to give the album a chance. They listened to whatever they could stomach, called it trash, and then probably didn't listen to it again after that. Or who knows, maybe they're secretly listening to it, but I'll get into that later. I, however, have a few personal thoughts of my own. First of all, I like the fact that Drake is stepping out of his comfort zone. I haven't been the biggest fan of Drake's recent albums in like the last 3 to 4 years. Yes, he's had a few songs here and there that I really do enjoy, but I feel as though in recent years, Drake has succumbed to monotony. A lot of his music recently has been very uninspiring, kinda samey. At times he's given me the impression that he could release whatever and his fans would buy it. It just feels that way. So I quite like the fact that he tried something different, because when you try a new field, it's going to be challenging no matter how skilled you think you might be. So I think that this album is a boost of versatility amongst his discography, and as a result is refreshing, if that's the word you would like to use if you wanted to be on the optimistic side when talking about this album. There's a few standout tracks on this album, such as the insanely catchy Sticky, Text Go Green, Jimmy Cooks, which I'll also get into a little bit later, and the first half of Falling Back. I say the first half because I really feel like the song goes on for far too long, and Drake's not even saying anything of substance to justify it being over 4 minutes long. He repeats the chorus for at least a minute and a half, which I just don't feel was necessary at all. I feel like he could have cut his chorus down in half, maybe added a few layers to his beat breakdown, and it would have been a great dance song. It kind of reminds me of if Hold On We're Going Home was to be a dance track. I'm here for the sad house music. I feel like it's very on brand given a lot of the things that Drake typically raps about, which is usually women breaking his heart even if he doesn't give a fuck about them anymore. Text Go Green would have sounded amazing with Rihanna on it, but I really feel like it's one of the better tracks on this project. It's already hit top 10 on Billboard, which shows you how popular it really is. I think if Rihanna were on this track, then it definitely would have gone to number 1 straight away, but Drake can probably get it up there if he releases a good video for it. I mean, it's Drake after all, he doesn't really need anyone to go to number 1. Other honorable mentions are Currents. I think the bed squeaking sample is quite fun, and to be completely honest, despite people thinking that this song is a complete joke, I can 100% see Calling My Name being pretty popular everywhere else besides the US. It's quite cheeky, it's accompanied by a pretty decent bass line. Europe will really like that song. I can hear it being overplayed over here already. But other than that, the rest of the album seems to fade into obscurity to me and is a little bit generic. When I was listening to songs like Massive, I was thinking I've definitely heard songs like this in Europe which have the exact same dance breakdown and have probably been executed a bit better. I feel like I've heard this type of song a million times. I don't think I need to hear it 1,000,001 times. Some of the songs feel like like demos. It sometimes feels as though he just threw them on there without polishing them. I have no idea why he didn't recruit Majid Jordan or K Tronada for this album. I think if Drake released a house album produced by Majid Jordan with maybe some division elements or lyricism, then it would have been received a lot better. The album does come across as slightly rushed and scatty in some places, which is a shame because I think that the first half of the album initiates a decent first try at house music for somebody who's never really done it before. Although I wouldn't be surprised if the reason why Drake released this was to get ahead of Beyonce, because I have a feeling her new album is going to be very house inspired. The title Renaissance definitely gives off the impression of change or difference, so I wouldn't be surprised if Drake was being a little bit petty and trying to get credit before Beyonce. I also think that the only reason why he put Jimmy Cooks on this album was because he wanted to reassure his fans that he can still go off when it comes to his classic hip-hop roots. And I mean, it worked because the shit is #1 on Billboard. I think he was just trying to slap naysayers in the face, especially since, the whole album is dance music, and he knew his die-hard fans were going to find it a little bit difficult to digest without a hip-hop track. Oh, and he also probably put it on there due to the amount of people who were criticizing CLB for being one of Drake's worst albums. I can't see why else Drake would put Jimmy Cooks on this album other than that. Speaking of CLB, let's talk about sales, shall we? Despite CLB doing the numbers last year, I believe in its first week it sold around 600k. For this project, Drake debuted at #1 on Billboard 200 with 204,000 copies sold and 250 million streams roundabout, which is significantly lower than what we're used to seeing from Drake. A lot of people considered this to be a flop for an artist of Drake's caliber. I do have a few thoughts as to why I think these are the sales, however. First of which being, the album dropped unexpectedly. I think everyone just assumed that following CLB, Drake wouldn't drop again. Well, I don't think anyone was expecting Drake to drop another album within 9 months anyway, but as the drop was unexpected, Drake basically didn't promote the album at all. There was no word of mouth, no rumors circulating, no inkling whatsoever. I wouldn't be surprised if people still have no idea that Drake released another album, because that's how out of the blue it was. So the lack of speculation possibly played a part in its low sales. 2. The album is dance music. Drake is known for being one of the best-selling hip-hop artists in the world, so what do his fans want typically? They want rap. That's what they expect, nothing more, nothing less. Maybe the odd pop tune here and there. But really and truly, you don't go to McDonald's getting greasy burgers all your life, and all of a sudden when you go this time round, expect them to be giving you a light and fragrant Caesar salad. It's not what consistent consumers naturally want. So when something different is given to them, they're kind of like, okay, what the fuck? And as a result, if they're not very open-minded to the new menu, they're gonna be very reluctant to consume something different, especially if it's the complete opposite of what it is that they're used to getting. And I think that this is a huge reason as to why the sales were so low for Drake. People are reluctant to listen to it, they're reluctant to like it, and as a result are less likely to encourage others to listen to it. Just like you would encourage your friends to check something out if you enjoyed said thing. They won't go to their friends and ask if they've listened to the new Drake album and compliment it like they usually do, or whatever it is that they usually say. Instead, they'll just tell their friends how trash they think it is, and in doing so have already planted the seed of doubt in their friends' minds, thus potentially influencing their own independent thoughts on how they feel about the album. I think these are the biggest reasons as to why Honestly Nevermind has sold so low. I personally don't think that selling over 200k is a flop if you're an artist in this economy. There are artists who would pray to whoever it is that they believe in to get those types of numbers first week. But yes, for Drake, we're just gonna have to call a spade a spade. It's low for him, but I don't think we should be putting this album in the same context of hip-hop albums, because it's basically like comparing apples to oranges, watermelons to bananas. They have nothing in common. So I don't really agree with the discourse that some fans are engaging in when it comes to comparing this album against Drake's previous bodies of work. If anything, this album just shows that not everything Drake touches turns to gold, and that even though he's seen as a king in his own genre, even Drake is a novice in a different genre. All in all, I think Drake could have definitely invested a lot more into this project in order to make it a top-notch dance album, as he definitely has the resources to do so. Despite some of the chart positions he's pulling in on Billboard, I think he rushed to get this album out, and as a result, at least half of the album is suffering in terms of quality because of it. But I don't think the album is terrible. I think it's actually okay and will grow on people, but when it comes to house music, I think it'll only remain as a decent album. It's by no means the best that house has to offer, but I think honestly Nevermind will resonate quite well with European audiences. I can already hear Massive and Calling My Name playing in every nightclub in Ibiza, and for everyone else who's not so much of a fan of the project, it'll either grow on them in the long term or they'll never want to hear it ever again. Probably won't even want to think about it ever again. This album is complete Marmite, so let me know what you guys think. Do you guys love it to the point where you can't get enough of it, or do you absolutely hate it with a burning passion? Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.